local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family, your business can benefit from current events, and most of all, thank you for joining me. Before we get into our intriguing content this morning, please join me in welcoming our featured guests. We're going to talk about collecting with Dr. Howard Knohl. Good morning.
Good morning, Ron.
Glad to have you with us. Melinda Johnson, Freedom First Properties, welcome.
Thanks, Ron.
Lisa Lewis, Preferred Care, welcome.
Good morning.
We've got a full house here this morning, and let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime you need assistance. When you call, that number comes directly to me first. There are no operators standing by. I am it.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. A lot going on in the marketplace today. Obviously, we've seen the jobs or lack of jobs report come out this morning. Gotta love listening to some of the spin doctors in Washington talking about some of these reports, saying how great it is that we're only losing 1 million jobs a month. Well, if you got 270,000 people first-time unemployment per week, you can do the math there. They kind of like those numbers. We need about 2 million jobs a year added just to replace those who are retiring and coming into the new workforce. So we need a 2 million just as a parity number. And today's jobs report, well, 223,000, just a little bit below what the economists thought they were expecting. And somehow interesting numbers from economists. I always love looking at the numbers from the economists. They got the numbers wrong last month. They were only off by 60,000 jobs. They said that we had 60,000 more than what we really had. Unemployment, that's going to be the headline today. You'll hear that in all of the Lame Street media. They're going to tell you unemployment fell from 5.5% to 5.3%. I'll tell you how that happened. They expected it to go down to 5.4%. Labor participation rate, lowest number since 1977. We're at 62.6% participation. It was at 62.9%. So here's how the math on all these things work. You add 230,000 jobs, the unemployment goes down, labor participation goes down. That means there's about 400,000 people, once again, that just gave up and said, I'm not going to even look for a job anymore. It's not worth the effort in this country. Now, where did we find a few jobs? That's going to be another interesting number that you are not going to hear today. Healthcare added jobs, retail added small amount of jobs, and the number that is the scary one, temporary workers added jobs. Yeah, temporary workers. And the only reason you add jobs is because you get a lot of people that need more than one job. It's how you can survive in this economy. Zero job creation in manufacturing, and zero job creation in construction, and manufacturing was way below expectations once again. The number that really matters, and I've shared this with you many, many times, if you're a regular listener, you know the number that matters. See, the government reports, and it's not just this administration, in all administrations, they report what's called the U3 number. It's a Bureau of Labor Statistics number. U3 is what they report. That's where they get this 5.3%. And until the current administration, that was a decent method of accounting, understanding, because people were able to get full-time jobs. But the real truth...
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Well, the real truth is U6 tells us, that's another one of the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers, U6 is at 10.5% unemployment. 10.5%. That is Americans who are either unemployed or underemployed. employed. Didn't have to worry about that in prior years because people that wanted a job would go out and they can get a full-time job. Well, with the Unaffordable Care Act, a lot of employers don't want to hire people for full-time work because look at the extra cost in benefits. And obviously, the administration is clueless. They have no idea that how these things work because,
You're absolutely useless.
well, they are changing the rules for overtime. Well, as they change the rules for overtime, what is that going to mean? 420,000 people in the state of California alone will be eligible under the new way that the president wants to use his pen to sign this legislation. 420,000 people. Now, I don't employ a lot of people. I used to employ a lot of people. If it got to the point of saying that anybody that was earning under $970 a week was now was able to collect overtime, you get rid of that level of management. There's no more middle managers. The assistant manager position will end up disappearing. Oh, yeah, and that's right. That U6 number, that goes up then when you start doing those kind of things. So instead of trying to figure out how we can get more people working full-time jobs, the administration, the president, says, I'm going to sign into legislation a law. He doesn't need to go through Congress. That's not part of the country any longer under this administration. You just bypass Congress. Then you have to go to the Supreme Court and wait for them to tell you, as they did earlier in the week with the EPA, that the items the president is doing is not legal. But how long does that take? How many jobs are cost during all of that process? You got to love economics in this country, don't you? Amazing. It would be nice. I did hear at one time, I thought they had the president was a constitutional scholar. Now I understand that. Because obviously, the Supreme Court, they don't understand what the word state means. They have trouble with these words. I don't have to be a constitutional scholar to understand that. They have trouble with the idea of where this whole slippery slope is going on marriage. That's another issue. We won't get into that one. But you can understand where we're heading in our country. I got this statistic, and I just found this statistic very, very interesting because in California, we've cut our water by 29% in the month of May. But I think I know where some of that water might be going. Oregon. Oregon has this new business that they've got going on there. Think about this one. I would, if it wasn't a little on the controversial side, sometimes I get into these things. It's legal in Oregon now to possess and grow marijuana. That's what, they don't worry about the federal law. Of course, neither does the president, so we're okay there. But you need a medical marijuana card in Oregon to go and buy marijuana. This is the staggering number to me. I was just dumbfounded. Can you believe in the state of Oregon there are more pot shops than there are Starbucks or McDonald's? Figure that one out. More pot shops than Starbucks. 269 pot shops. They're places that are able to sell marijuana legally through medical marijuana cards, which I think you can go online and get a medical marijuana card for $39, $49, something like that. 248 Starbucks, 10% less Starbucks than pot shops, and 205 McDonald's. You got to wonder. I mean, I understand that a lot of people say that McDonald's is bad for you. But I guess now with the economy there, I guess the pot shops are a little better. Maybe you need the pot shops to understand this economy and this administration. But hard to believe where we're heading with some of these issues in the country. What are we doing to our kids? That's the issue that I look at in some of these areas, is what is this? At the end of the day, I'm a little older. And the issue that I look at, almost everything that I look at, is because if we want to do what's right, it's what is the effect for our kids? Having, McDonald's probably is not the best effect for the kids, but I would say it might be a little bit better than marijuana. And I've had some serious debates, even within my own household, about whether marijuana should be legal or should not be legal. The bottom line, though, number one, because the issue that comes up is, should it be legal, first off, and what difference is there between marijuana and alcohol? And my answer is very, very simple, and it's a guidance one. One's legal, one's not legal. The rest of it we can leave to the people that are a lot smarter than me, And we'll talk about some of this stuff as we go on. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, interesting story about collecting and how you get started in the collecting business. Here's a quote a friend of mine told me. We might even chat about this. It's not about your resources, but your resourcefulness. Think about that one, and we will chat about it. You can reach us anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Connect with us, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. On Twitter, @Ron Siegel. Stay tuned. We will be back in just a few.
Purchasing or own a luxury home? If you're like so many others, your home is your largest asset and the mortgage is your largest debt. The Siegel lending team has some amazing financing opportunities right now. Jumbo loans up to $2 million.
They can't hear us.
Rates below 4%. 15-year rates near 3.5%. And if you can believe it, 7-year interest-only hybrids in low 3s. The Siegel lending team has all the options for your jumbo or second home loan requirements. Take advantage of them while you can. To learn more about all the other financing products available from the Siegel lending team, call 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. Or visit SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL.com. Again, call 1-800-306-1990. Rates subject to change without notice. Licensed by NMLS ID 217037 and 145502. Equal housing lender.
Do you have a loved one who wants to stay in their home, but you
very
have health
effective
concerns?
speaking voice.
Preferred Care team understands the challenges of caring for your loved ones. Their goal is to keep seniors as independent as possible while maintaining their health, safety, and overall well-being. Whether you need just a few hours a week or 24-hour care, Preferred Care caregivers are trained to meet your needs. Call Preferred Care at 714-696-9150. That's 714-696-9150. Or visit preferredcare.com. Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change.
They're using a lot of reclaimed water out there.
Operations
So their medians are all nice. Last time I was there anyway, they're all nice and green.
Are you a veteran,
big signs.
police officer?
Really? Who's doing that?
The communities
Nurse
out there in the
or
Coachella Valley.
Oh, really?
Desert,
qualify as
La
one
You
of
got a big
Ron
farming,
Siegel's VIP heroes.
What is it,
And we have
80% of the water in the state's used by farming? Only 20% of it is used by us. Yeah.
Home
10?
with one
10%
of the
is
Ron
used by
Siegel radio
consumers.
partners.
Yeah, we gotta cut back,
Real estate
25%, like that
agents will
25%
rebate
is
part
gonna
of their
really matter,
commission.
right?
Lending partners will give a
I mean, it represents like 3% of the water use, but we gotta do it, right?
and many other service providers have incentives too. All you need to do is call
and
Ron Siegel Radio
I had a
at
gentleman on that does a lot of the water work. He's doing the
1-800-306-1990. That's
desalination plants.
1-800-306-1990.
what they've done
Or
in
visit
Israel. They've been doing it for years and years
VIPHeroProgram.com.
with
Just
desalination
think
over
about
there.
what you will
They
do
do
with
it
all
in
the
the
rebates and incentives from the
UAE and
partners of Ron
Saudi
Siegel
Arabia.
Just call us.
expensive, though, but you gotta do it.
Well, we've built one plant
1-800-306-1990
that goes
so we
online
can
in
show you
October
our
in Sacramento.
appreciation
The
for your
Huntington Beach plant
service.
has been 10 or 12 years that they've been working on.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Your Credit Matters segment brought to you by a new sponsor today, Commerce for a Cause. How'd you like to get a percentage of your credit card processing bills sent to your favorite charity? Commerce for a Cause. They'll take care of that for you. If you want information, just give me a call and I will put you in touch with them. They match all your fees and still give money back to the charity of your choice. How to get your credit ready for your kids' credit ready for college. Interesting. Well, first off, get your kids a credit card with a low balance. Very low balance. Make sure you're getting a copy of that so you can see what they're doing. Make sure the bills come to your address. Then you can forward them. Make sure that they are getting paid on time, and develop that relationship between your kids and credit so they understand that unlike the student loans, see, student loans are just a ruse to get kids in debt and make money for the colleges. The credit cards, they're going to have to pay those back, and if they understand that they're paying them back on a regular basis, no one's teaching the kids in school now to deal with bank statements and credit card statements and being responsible with credit. Yet, $500 a month. Think about this. We just went over this. Aaron Hebner brought this into us, I think, well, heck, now it's almost 6 weeks. We talked about the idea that $500 a month, if you have one $35,000 car loan and you have one $400,000 mortgage, the difference between a 650 FICO score and a 750 FICO score, $500 a month. A lot of money, and it's just wasted money unless you're a big fan of sending extra cash to the banks. If you are, let me show you how to change that, and if you still want to send the extra cash, I'm sure the banks will be very, very happy to take your money from you. They make a lot of money, and I'd rather see you get it. That is Your Credit Matters, again, brought to you by Commerce for a Cause. Had a very interesting opportunity in the last month or so to go and visit Dr. Howard Knohl at his home. And we're looking, actually it was a great cause that you were doing a fundraiser for the Anaheim Performing Arts Center.
That's correct.
And we got the opportunity of hearing the story of how you got into being a collector. And I thought it was a fascinating, I don't know whether it was a story of becoming a collector, getting into a business, or a love story.
Probably a combination of both, Ron. I mean, I was not a collector until I was almost 50 years old. In the mid-'80s, I decided, my wife bought me a book, a medical book. I'm a physician. And it was a beautiful book. It was a 19th century book on medicine. I fell in love with it. And then I decided that was kind of too recent for me. So I started buying medical books from the 19th century, the 18th century, and finally got back to the 15th, 16th, and 17th century. And that's really what got me started in collecting.
Wow. And the painting that you bought with her hanging on your arm. Tell us that story. I love that story.
Back in the mid-'80s, about the same time, well, let me take it a step back. I had gone to the Getty Museum with my wife when the Getty used to be on the Pacific, and my wife was never interested in art. And we were going through the museum, and as usual, we were doing our separate things. And she ran out of her way to get me, to bring me back, to show me a painting that she said she absolutely fell in love with. It was a beautiful painting by an artist named Bouguereau, who I had never heard of. But I always remembered that. Years later, we were in New York, where we're originally from, and I saw that there was an auction going to happen soon at Sotheby's in New York, and I saw that they were auctioning a Bouguereau. So here I was making $40,000 a year, and I said, I'm going to buy that Bouguereau because I know my wife loved it. And we went into the auction house. I got my paddle, and the bidding started. And the auctioneer said, "Well, the bidding's going to start at $45,000 for this painting." And I put up my paddle, and my wife looked at me, and she couldn't believe it. Well, somebody else fortunately bid $47,500 for the painting, but I left my paddle up, and the bidding went $50,000, $52,500. It got up to $60,000, and my wife started crawling up my arm to get the paddle to bring it down. And I was fighting to keep the paddle up, and by the time the bidding got to $65,000, the auctioneer said, sold to that guy whose wife is trying to pull the paddle down. And I bought our first painting for $65,000 at that time.
And it's appreciated a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably worth between $2 and $3 million now.
Wow.
I've been offered that anyway, yes.
But the interesting thing the part that I took away from that, obviously the passion and buying that and the history with your wife, but the idea that the thing that really got me was when you talked about you had to go find a way to make it happen to pay for it.
Well,
right?
I couldn't. Yes, I couldn't pay for. Taking a step back, let me tell the audience that When I started collecting in the mid-'80s, I was never a particularly wealthy guy. I'm a pretty ordinary guy, never made more than a couple $100,000 a year. But I started collecting, and in the interim, from then to now, I've collected almost 80,000 pieces.
Amazing number.
80,000 pieces, more than half the museums in the United States have in their inventory we have in our home. And it's been an adventure. I mean, it's really been an experience. I probably lost sight of your question.
But the idea of finding the way of paying for it, I mean, because you said you made $40,000 a year at the time.
I couldn't pay for it.
But you did.
Well, I paid for it over a period of 2 years, which has become not an unusual happening for me. When sellers get to know who you are and they know that you actually follow through, they will make special arrangements. So that painting for $65,000 took me 2 years to pay. And eventually I ended up with the painting, but it took a while to do it. And I've experimented with my collecting in very novel ways of trying to find the means and ways to pay for things I bought.
So how do you, I mean, when you think about it, from starting in the mid-'80s, early 80s?
Mid-'80s.
Mid-'80s to now being the mid-2015 here, but 30 years, 80,000 pieces?
A lot of pieces.
I mean, how do you study? How do you understand? How do you make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of?
You're always taken advantage of. The idea about collecting, I have 12 world-class collections, different things that I collect. One of them we touched on was books. All the books I own are from before the year 1700. They're all English language. There's a learning curve. You really have to do research just as you do each day before your show. I had to go out and learn about books. And in the first 2 or 3 years, I was taken. After that, I became the expert, and when I became involved in buying, I usually knew more than the seller did, so I felt more comfortable. And it's the same way with collecting art or collecting some of the other things that I collect. You go through a learning curve, and you're always at risk at the beginning of that learning curve. And you have to be willing to accept the risk.
So you're basically, your learning curve as you expand or get yourself more educated, the risk, you can diminish the risk. But you've also gotten involved in, I think you shared that you were buying things when other people were misdirected, so to speak. They were looking maybe at modern art and you were buying early art or something along those lines. I think you shared with us.
Yeah, somebody like me who's not extraordinarily wealthy, usually when you collect, you're competing against people who are wealthy. And most of those people don't do their own research. They follow the advice of others. You give advice on investments, other people do. And in today's world, somebody like me to collect and be successful at it, you have to find niches. And that's what I did. In terms of my art collection, which is an extraordinary collection of academic and similar type art from the 15th through the 19th century, I was able to collect because when we're growing up, we know the names of certain artists. We know Renoir, we know the Impressionists, we know Van Gogh, we know Rembrandt.
Sure.
We know famous artists. But what I decided to do was go back to the time that these people painted and see in historical records who is considered the best painters or artists at that time. And you find if you go back to, say, Rembrandt's time, most people didn't think that Rembrandt was the best artist. They thought a fellow who lived down the block from him named Delorès was the best artist. Unfortunately, Delorès developed congenital syphilis. He went blind when he was 31, and he stopped painting. So he only painted 10 or 11, major paintings. Rembrandt himself thought Delorès was a better painter than he was, and Rembrandt painted Delorès out of appreciation for his work, and his painting of Delorès hangs in the Metropolitan Museum in New York. Well, I bought Delorès. After doing all the research, I found out that this guy was great, and I've done that. So if I give you a list of the artists that I own, you would say, well, I never heard of any of them. But if you go back at the time that these people painted, they were considered the greatest artists of their time. So that's the niche that I found in academic art. romantic art, and that's the niche that I followed. And we've purchased. We have about 250 paintings. Some of them are exquisitely done, and some of them have become quite valuable.
Amazing and beautiful, I might add. So I've seen, a portion where you can't take it all in a visit to your property. I mean,
That's true.
It's an amazing, amazing collection. We're going to talk more with Dr. Howard Knohl and the rest of our guests. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. You can reach us anytime. The off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Connect with us, facebook.com/Ron Siegel, on Twitter @Ron Siegel. Stay tuned. We will be back in just a few.
Currently renting a home? Do you like paying someone else's mortgage payment? Why not explore the options to purchase your own home? Can you imagine a 3-year fixed rate loan below?
Is that okay?
Perfect. Excellent.
I can just tell you from somebody just listening in.
$10,500, you can purchase a $295,000
I make it
home.
up. None of it's true.
Okay.
But it sounds good.
Well, I believed it, so.
Well, there is some truth to it. I mean, we do. We have 80,000 pieces in the
these
house.
exciting opportunities, the Siegel Lending Team is standing by to speak with you.
Oh, thank you.
Call now, 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990.
Oh, she was up on my arm. It was a fight to keep that thing up. And I didn't tell you what I had to go through for the next 2 months.
I'm a wife, I can assume.
217-037 and
nothing's changed after 54 years.
Sponsored by any government agency.
Is bad credit holding you back? Did the economic and real estate crisis?
She's the neck and turns you whichever way she wants.
Absolutely right. I still buy about a painting a week. And she objects to almost every one I buy.
Financial future. Call Ascent today to take that first step to getting your credit back on track. You can reach Ascent by calling
relate to a little bit of that.
787-124.
As far as the objections. Mindy all the time with me.
Number is 877-871-2400.
Do you want to go into some of the other things that I collect?
Yeah.
You want to mention those things?
Yeah.
Okay, because we just limited to the art and the... Okay.
Ron Siegel Radio Date Night Trivia, presented by Reunion
You got a
Kitchen
good
and
memory.
Drink. Friday, Ron will pose a question based on on-air conversations during the prior 7 programs. The person to post the answer according to the guest conversation will win a date night package, including a dinner gift card for Reunion Kitchen and Drink. You might even be able to say hi to Ron when you visit Reunion Kitchen and Drink.
Are you purchasing
you're
or
checking
own a
off stuff
luxury
I
home?
just check some notes. Those are just
So many
bullet
elements. Your
points.
home is your
But
largest
even books
asset,
things
and the
like that,
mortgage is your
I do 'em on
largest
audible.
debt. The Siegel Lending Team has some amazing
Well,
financing
I'm listening to you. You don't fumfa. You know,
30-year rates below 4%.
well, I'm sure that's something you learned.
15-year
Yeah,
rates
you
near
can't do that,
3.5.
you know,
And
but,
if you believe
but
it,
you speak
7-year
beautifully.
interest-only hybrids in
Your
low
recall is
3s.
terrific.
The
I
Siegel
mean,
Lending Team has
Yeah, in
all
fact,
the
I wanted to
options
talk
for
to you
your
about
jumbo
your,
or second home loan
the book that you
requirements.
had on your
Take
lap there
advantage
when
of them
we
while
went
you can.
upstairs.
To learn more
That was a
about all
big
the other
book that-
financing
Oh, sure, it's
products
called the Hartman
available from
Shadle,
Siegel
the
Lending
geography
Team,
book.
call
Yeah, it had the maps before.
1-800-306-1990.
Right. It's a last book. Right. Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
306-1990 or visit
Printed in
SiegelLendingTeam.com.
1493.
That's
It was the last geography book printed that
SIEGELLendingTeam.com.
did not
Again,
acknowledge
call
Columbus's discovery
1-800-306-1990.
of the
Rates
world.
subject to change without
Now it's a
notice.
very
Licensed by NMLS ID
expensive, dear book.
217037 and 145502. Equal housing
You could
lender.
go with that.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio anytime. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment being brought to you today by the VIP Hero Program. I love the Hero Program. Military, active, retired, reserve, firefighters, law enforcement, first responders, teachers, all of them. We've got special programs set up with the real estate community, the lending community, title, lawyers, credit repair, all to get discounts to our heroes. We appreciate your service, and as we get closer to our Independence Day, obviously got to remember the heroes amongst us. Thank you for all of your service. And the report this morning, it's amazing how long it takes for us to get disseminate information. Still hear a lot of people that are saying, you got to have a 20% down payment before I can buy a house. Think about this one. In January, 26% of home purchases were done with 3% or less down payment. February, 27% of home purchases, 3% or less. March, 29% were done 3% or less. 2/3 of the folks that we were surveyed, FICO scores, they're dropping as far as the number that you have to have. An FHA FICO average 688, conventional 757. Great score on the conventionals. So the idea here is if you're a prospective purchaser, if you're ready, willing, and you can document your income, you can get a home. And obviously the military, the VA loan, the best loan on the market, 0% down payment. So you can go to military, active and reserves. You just need to make sure you have that certificate of eligibility. You can buy a house with no money down. It's better than going and trying to lease a property. Leasing a property, you're going to have to come up with some sort of a security deposit. If you're not in position to buy, let's get you in position to buy. Melinda, are you finding that anywhere where people still hear that they have to have 20% down?
Yes, it surprises me, but I still hear it regularly.
Howard, you and I were talking before I think you, Melinda, you might have gone to the property also. Right on down the street from you, there was a house that just sold, $3.3 million?
Yes, that's true.
In a week.
In 1 week.
So the bottom line there, really, is that the luxury market is still alive and well.
I hope so.
Well, I can only share this part with you, that it only matters if you're looking to sell.
Absolutely right.
So if you're not looking to sell, then you don't have to worry whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
But I take an active interest, even though you always like to know that that value is going up.
Exactly.
So,
are you seeing, Melinda, a little bit around the community, around the county, that the luxury market is active?
Yeah, that is a market that's, it's a sub-market in and unto itself.
It's not quite the same as the market that we're talking about in the real-time real estate segment where you're getting a 0 down payment.
Correct.
But that's okay. The programs are still there, and I would suggest that if you're contemplating buying in any of these markets, now's a great time. Can you imagine, Howard, you go back as far enough to remember. I'm going to ask you this question, because you started collecting in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you were seasoned at that time when you started.
I'm a lot more seasoned now, but yes.
Aren't we all? But would you imagine a jumbo loan in the low to mid 3% range? In the 80s, 3 was the second digit, right?
Never thought. If you go back to Carter's time, when we were paying 13% for our first, on homes, and if you could get a CD note through the bank and be paid 18% or get a second trustee, that's where I made most of my money, incidentally.
Oh, really?
Is in the marketplace with real estate. I had about 30 second and third trust deeds back when Jimmy Carter was president. I was being paid 25, 27, 28%.
Wow.
In those days. No, I never imagined that you could get a first trust deed for 3%. No.
But it's there. That's what the luxury market, good credit, getting a good project, property, find the right home. If it praises, you got the down payment, all available in this marketplace. So if you want that information, just give us a call. Again, we'll put you in touch with the right real estate professionals to help you. And the loans are obviously, the team has that available for you as well. Howard, I wanted to chat with you a little bit. You talked about books being in the early part of your collection, and I was fascinated. Not only one of the books that you brought out when you had the event at your home was a book that's a little older than you and I.
A little older than you and I put together. Yeah, all of us in the room.
Exactly.
Let me preface the response to that by saying that in my book collection, what we call wing and STC books, we have about 4,300 books.
Let me ask you one question.
Yes,
what does
correct.
wing and STC books mean?
STC means short title catalog. Somebody put together a catalog of every book printed in the English language before the year 1640.
Wow.
So they counted every book. They cataloged them, and there were probably about 20,000 books printed at that time. Somebody then came along years later, a fellow named Wing, and added on to that, and he added on all the books that were printed in the English language up until the year 1700. So my cutoff date in my collection is the year 1700. Almost all the books that I own are first editions English language books. I only have two exceptions to that. I have two books in Latin.
Wow.
One of them is the book that you're referring to, which is a book by a German author named Hartmann Schadl. He wrote a geography book, essentially, in 1493. And he was the last geography author that did not acknowledge Columbus's discovery of the New World. And he published in that book a map of the world that did not include the discovery of the West Indies. So it became monumental. Now, this book is an extraordinary book. It has more stone cuts in it than any other book ever printed. And my copy of it is extraordinarily beautiful. It's a wonderful, valuable book. And that's the book that you're referring to. Everybody's always fascinated by it.
You know what I find fascinating about your collection and in watching when we were there was you've set it up in such a way that you've got this spectacular collection, but it's still home.
Yes.
And when you pulled that book out, you set it on your lap, and you opened it up, no gloves, and you were going through the pages.
Yeah, I decided a long time ago with my art, with my books, with everything else that I collect, that I was going to live with it. They were going to be part of my life. And I'll let the people who end up with the collection after I'm gone, I'll let them take all the precautions. The books and the art will hold up just fine for the next several years while I'm still around. After that, that'll be their responsibility. But you're right, it is home.
I found that just fascinating. Tell us about some of your other collections. I know we talked about the books, we've talked about the artwork. You said there was 12 collections.
Yeah, they vary. I mean, some of the items that I collect nobody's ever heard of, which is one of the reasons I collect them. But one that is a phenomenal collection is a thing called match safes. The English call them vestas. These are the items that preceded cigarette lighters or matchbooks. When you smoked, and everybody smoked in Europe and the United States in the 19th century, 90% of women smoked in the 19th century, but they hid it because it wasn't supposed to be socially, the proper thing to do. So what they did is they would wear behind their bras or their girdles these thing called chatelaines, and in it they would have a little container that contained small matches, and they would run off to the bathroom, take out a cigarette, take out their match, and light up. And what those cases were, they were the first safety matches. They invented a match where they were able to take one of the ignition chemicals out of the head of the match and put it on a striker that was on the case, so that when you wanted to smoke, you could keep your matches in a case that weren't going to catch fire spontaneously. So you wanted to smoke, you took out this case, you opened it up, you took out a match, you turned it over, and there would be a striker plate, and then you would strike the match on that, it would ignite, and you would light your cigarette or your cigar or your pipe. That match would not light anywhere else. You couldn't light it on your head or on your shoe or on a brick. It would only ignite with that striker. Now, match safes were ubiquitous. Everybody had them. If you were wealthy, you would have one that you would wear or take with you when you went to a dressy affair. If you were at home, you'd have one that was a little more plain. But the media that was utilized to make match safes were gold, silver, ivory, combined with the fine gems. They were made in cardboard, in paper for smaller people, but everybody owned match safes. My collection of over 21,000 pieces is the largest in the world. Unfortunately, it's not the best in the world because there are a lot of wealthy people who collect match safes. But it's a fantastic collection, and it's worthwhile seeing it.
It's amazing. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, how people had these, and it was a combination. It was for protection as well as the beauty of it. Right? You wouldn't want to have some matches that are going to explode in your pocket, is the way we heard it.
Well, if you were poor or lower middle class, they were functional. If you were wealthy, the opulence showed in like other jewelry, whether they were your watch or your pen or your cufflinks. People want to impress other people, so they would go to Tiffany's and have Tiffany's make a match safe that would be only for them, one of a kind.
Wow. We're going to chat more about the collections. I mean, we're not going to get to all of them. We're also going to talk to Dr. Knohl about what he's up to now. In addition to medicine, I mean, I don't know how you fit all of this in addition to being a practicing physician. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. Remember, you can reach us anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Connect with us, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. On Twitter, @Ron Siegel. Stay tuned. We will be back in just a few.
Do you have a goal of
Thank you.
mortgage-free home ownership? What if your home was valued at $500,000? Are you aware that a free and clear home could
What's
be
your
costing
favorite of all the collections?
$500 every month, $30,000 per year?
The best collection I have is the book collection.
The Siegel Lending Team
Yeah,
would like to
right
show you
now
how
I'm
you can
working on
own your
getting rid
home, generate tax-free income,
You get rid
and
of the whole
accumulate
collection?
family wealth. You simply need to call Ron
No, I'm
Siegel.
about to retire, so,
306-1990.
if you're a collector,
That's 800-306-1990.
If you know collectors are very poor.
Sending the team a
Collectors
copy of
don't
your
have assets. I mean, they have assets. They're not liquid.
They don't have liquidity.
Yeah, so I mean, every time I make a penny, I buy something.
Send the team a copy
So
of
for
your
me to
loans.
retire, I have to sell something.
at
The books,
ronsiegelradio.com or call today, Ron Siegel.
We're in negotiation with Stanford right now. Stanford wants the books.
That's 1-800-306-1990. Rate
But,
subject to change without notice. Licensed by the
since I
California
need
Department
to
of
have
Corporation.
some money
That's
to exist, I may
217-037 and
put it
BKLBRE
up to
number
auction.
0186945.
Or I may find a Middle East
Is bad
buyer
credit
who wants
holding
to
you
buy
back?
them all
Did the economic and real
together.
estate crisis cripple
So
your
that's what
credit?
I have the Christie's people, had the Christie's and Sotheby's people in my house last week.
Organization that has been helping individuals nationwide.
So there's a lot of
prepare their
dynamics going on.
and the mistakes of the past dictate your financial future. Call Ascent today to take that first step to getting your credit back on track. You can reach Ascent by calling toll-free at 877-871-2400.
maybe I can mention APAC.
Absolutely. Okay.
Once again, that
That's why I
toll-free
kind of
number is
threw in there that we're talking about what you're up to now.
877-871-2400. Don't delay. Call Ascent today.
Do you believe Southern California real estate is a great investment?
Emotionally?
Are you still a little
Yes.
short to be a cash investor?
very hard.
Are you missing the Social Security
Well,
card?
you get to a certain point, you know, as you get older, the legacy is really important, even though you say,
Yes, there is a cost.
you're going to be
higher
dead,
risk,
what
but
do
the
you care where
reward
the
can
hell
be
the
great.
books are?
Call today for details.
It's important to know that you can make a contribution, because as a library,
That's
extraordinarily valuable thing. You can get scholars from all over the world to come. That's why Stanford wants it.
217-037.
It'll make a name for them in this period of time.
Homeowners that
And
are
I would
62
prefer
and
that,
older are
but I
about
gotta
to
be,
find out
you gotta be
great ways
realistic.
of a better
Yeah,
retirement.
it's very
It's
hard.
called a reverse mortgage, and SLT can help you learn more.
Tied
Call
to
the
a tie-in
Siegel Lending
with,
Team at
with APAC and Chapman
800-306-1990 right
and
now to receive your
finances.
free booklet with no obligation.
What do
It
you mean
answers
a tie-in?
questions like how
let
a
them
reverse
pay you
mortgage
and then
works,
have
come
your-
on,
how
that's
much
not
you
gonna happen.
qualify for, the ways to receive
Chapman, where'd Chapman come
When
from?
you call the experts
money.
at Siegel Lending Team today.
Yeah, they got the money. Stanford has more money.
Oh, sure.
And Stanford has a bigger name. And for me,
You
it
tax-free
would be more
cash
important to
from
have it at
equity in your
Stanford
home.
than Chapman. I
Here's the
want them
best
to go to
part.
Brooklyn
You
College.
still own your home. Now
And they
is the
passed
best
this,
time
they
to take
they
control of your
participated in this
retirement.
embargo
Call
boycott of Israel.
800-306-1990.
And I
That's
told them if they do that, then I'm not going to
800-306-1990
donate
to
the
get
books
your
to them.
free
They were
brochure.
supposed to get
Call
those
today
books
or
3 years
visit
ago.
our website at
And so I withdrew
siegellendingteam.com.
and that was a straight donation, you know, and they never got
SIGELLendingteam.com
them.
or simply call 800-306-1990.
You're
I'm not
listening
used to talking for so long. My voice is cracking up.
Finance show with local and national expert
You sat outside
Ron
in your
Siegel.
patio.
Oh, I could talk. I mean, you know.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Word on Wealth segment today brought to you by CreditSanitizer.com. You have a credit report, it's wrong. I've yet to see one in 20 years of looking at credit reports. I have not seen one that's completely accurate. Never. What are you doing about yours? How do you know when retirement is right for you and your family? That is the subject of today's Word on Wealth segment. Well, the first step is really simple. and I'm going to share with you what I say on a regular basis. Get great counsel. You're going to need great counsel from the estate planning side of things. You're going to need a great counsel from financial planning. I've told you before, the decision of when you take Social Security, it's a $500,000 decision. Taking it at 62, taking it at 70, $500,000 difference between when you take it. So look at your finances. Go over them with somebody that understands the calculations. They've got to do all those calculations. What's your family history? Life expectancy, we've got those, the tables are the tables. It doesn't take into account your family history. Understand that. Retirement calculators, what do you want to do in retirement? Obviously, healthcare is a big situation nowadays. $30,000 on average for home health care, $90,000 if you're going to be in a facility is the average numbers in our country. Are you planning? Have you planned those numbers in? Where are you going to get health care benefits working if you're not working later? Some people are working longer just to get those benefits. And then obviously some of it's got to be gut instinct. You've got to take all the knowledge and then throw some just unknowns in there because you don't know, there's no date as to when you're going to expire. It's just the way it is. There's no expiration date. You can't stamp that on your head like you have on a milk carton. So you do have to take some of that in there, but the whole bottom line there, your household board of directors, that's the term that I use on a regular basis. You need to get a group of people that can give you good guidance, and then you can make an educated decision. At least you have a half a chance if your decision is on an educated basis. That's the Word on Wealth segment. Again, brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. Been chatting about real estate this morning, the luxury real estate market. Melinda Johnson's been sharing with us. Dr. Howard Knohl is in the house talking about collecting, and we've even got a chance to talk a little bit about some next chapters that are coming up during the break. Ironically enough, talking about the books, now we talk about next chapters. You've got doing something for the community in Anaheim. Actually, I guess it's going to be a larger. What you're doing is really going to support most of Orange County, more than just Anaheim.
My wife is president of the APAC Foundation. That's the Anaheim Performing Arts Center Foundation, and she's been trying for 7 years to get a world-class performing arts center built here in the city of Anaheim, and met with a lot of frustration very early and until recently. But she and I, as their representative in negotiation with the city, have made a lot of progress recently, and it looks like we may have an exciting announcement coming up in the very near future concerning a new site. We feel very confident. We're in the process now of conducting a survey for 30 miles around the city of Anaheim to see what kind of support a performing arts center would get.
You can break the news here. It's just the four of us listening.
Well, I hope there's a few more.
Just you and I.
But I'll be happy to come back, Ron, as soon as I have the definitive word. But we are very, very, very close. So hang in there, and we'll have that information. We'll have that breaking news very shortly.
So what are you doing different? That was the big question I had. I mean, we've got, obviously we can go 30 miles to Los Angeles. I hate going to Los Angeles. But we've got the center over in Costa Mesa. What is going to be different about what your vision in Anaheim?
Well, there's going to be a lot of differences. Number one, our two biggest competitors are going to be the Performing Arts Center, the Segerstrom Center in Costa Mesa, and the Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts. One thing we're going to do differently is we're going to make money. Both of those entities lose money constantly. The Cerritos Center is supported by the city of Cerritos, and the Segerstrom Center is supported by the Segerstrom Foundation. The second thing is we're going to produce, not we as APAC, but we're going to find people to come in ballet, in all sorts of the performing arts, including musical theater, including opera, including symphonies. And each one of these groups that comes in will be performing local art. In other words, they'll be making their own productions locally. They're not going to have touring groups come in as they do in the Segerstrom Center and the Cerritos. So we'll have people come in for 1 or 2 nighters, performing, singing, or playing musical instruments. So there's going to be a lot of home production. There's going to be a lot of original shows originating in ballet, and we'll be performing new shows, new ballets. So it's going to be a very exciting time, and it's going to be we envision that the Performing Arts Center in Anaheim will have 3 separate theaters that will almost be in constant use.
Wow.
So, and be able to facilitate seating about 3,000 to 4,000 people on any given night. So it's going to be a very, very, very special performing arts center. And again, we're getting very close, and we're in negotiations right now with some of the groups that'll come in, and want to come to Anaheim to do musical theater, to do ballet, to have a symphony. And again, it's a very exciting time for us.
So what is the time frame generally from, and I know this, we can't go specifics, but from the time that you find a location to the time we can go and enjoy a performance? Years, months? How does that work?
We're looking for an area now that's in the entertainment area, not far from the Angel Stadium, not far from the pond. If this works out, and we're very excited that it will work out, we believe it'll take about 2 years from the time we start to the time the Performing Arts Center will be operative.
Wow. That's going to be exciting.
Well, we have to raise a lot of money. It's going to be raising $100 to $120 million. Some of it will be through naming, and we're going to have to go out and just raise the money through donations. But once we get the go-ahead from the city and the site that we're interested in now, we expect to have that edifice built by the year 2018.
And I think we've put the website for APAC right there on our Facebook page. So, or if you want to give me a call at 800-306-1990, I can put you in touch with Howard and the team over at APAC. So if you've got a couple $100 million you want to donate and you want to name your building, just give us a call. I'm sure that we can make some arrangements to make that happen for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Melinda, what does that do for property values? Putting something like that.
It's fantastic, actually, for the entire community. So the more amenities and assets you have of that caliber within a city, it improves the quality of life and ultimately reflects in the housing values.
So we can actually, if depending upon the area, you can take a real working class area and bring it up a little bit, or help in the values resale. People, maybe there's still 10.5 million. We know people in homes in America that are still underwater.
Right. It does so much on so many levels. I mean, you think even the job creation that creates, that ends up helping people get into housing, just overall, something like that just has an absolutely positive impact on the community around it and on housing.
Look at the young people that are going to want to come here. If you're doing homegrown entertainment, right? I mean, you're going to have young people that are going to be aspiring actors and actresses, want to come and either learn or apprentice or move into that kind of a field.
Oh, absolutely. We're not aware of how many performers today on Broadway come from Anaheim. There's nobody advertising it. It doesn't get much publicity. But I don't know if you've seen the show Wicked, if most of the audience has seen it. Most of the people who performed in Wicked as the Wicked Witch are Anaheim people. We have 4 separate witches who we're trying to get to come to Anaheim to perform for APAC in the very near future at an event in October, and we're very excited about it. Yes, it's going to generate a tremendous enthusiasm among young people who want to go into show business.
It's great because the performing arts, I mean, we've had the folks from PS Arts in Los Angeles on the program with us, and the performing arts is really becoming a dying area in the public schools. It's left to the families now to get their kids educated if they want to be in that arena as a complete separate, apart from the school system.
Well, we're going to try and partner with the school systems, both here in Anaheim and the rest of Orange County, to make sure that we get that back into the school curriculum, that the performing arts, as well as other art forms, become familiar to students. So we hope to achieve that.
It's a big goal.
It is a big goal, but we're going to do it.
Well, something, it's amazing because you've said that before, right? I mean, how many times you couldn't build this collection, you've built the collection.
80,000 times I've said that.
And how many times has your bride said it to you?
Well, let's not get into that.
Especially because she might be listening or hear the recording of this.
Correct.
Great information. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing. We're going to keep track of what's going on with the Anaheim Performing Arts Center. And again, if you have any questions about it, give me a call at 800-306-1990. I'll put you in touch with the right people there. And be sure to set your first radio preset button to come back here every day to join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A very big thanks to Steve, who's engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Remember my mantra, make a lot of money, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio. We are clear. I will chat with you tomorrow, sir.